Today I'm going to talk about the oldest and most popular form of body modification, the tattoo. I got my first tattoo back when I was 16 years old. Um, Growing up, a lot of the adults around me had tattoos, and so being an impressionable child, I wanted to get a tattoo too. I didn't really put much thought into the tattoo I got, but it soon became part of my character, and I embraced the tattoo I had. I recently got a second tattoo, and this time I put a lot of thought into it, and I'm happy with how it turned out. This form of body modification has a really rich history, which can be found throughout civilizations. However, getting a tattoo wasn't always a positive thing. Tattoos also became taboo in many religions and cultures before becoming popular with the masses. So, going back thousands of years, the oldest discovery of human skin to be tattooed is found on the body of Ötzi, the Iceman, which is dating between 3,370 and 3,100 BC, which is over 5,000 years ago. So where does the word tattoo come from? Well, tatau is a Polynesian word for to mark, and tattoo is the Anglo modification of that word. Back in the late 18th century, English sailors arrived on the island of Tahiti. They found Polynesian men and women marked from head to toe in tattoos. These tattoos would relate to the status of their tribe and their tribal history. Uh, so they started describing these markings as tattoos. After this voyage, though, tattoos became very popular in Victorian England, even though for the time many people weren't that forthcoming with displaying the tattoos they got. The majority of people in Victorian England got tattoos. In many places, like Victorian England, tattoos were becoming a form of individuality and freedom. However, getting a tattoo, as I said before, was not always a form of individuality. Tattooing also became a form of punishment in certain cultures. In ancient Greece and Rome, mercenaries and slaves were tattooed to discourage them from escaping or deserting. Also, in ancient Japan, between the 700s and 1700s, tattoos weren't popular among the people, so the government would tattoo criminals based on their crimes. And the most notorious form of tattoos being punishment was during World War II, where the Nazis would tattoo numbers on chest and arms of Jews and prisoners at the Auschwitz concentration camp in order to identify the corpses. As I mentioned earlier, religions and societies made tattoos a taboo. Leviticus is the third book of the Torah, which is also the third book of the Old Testament in the Bible. See, Leviticus 19:28 says, "You shall not make any cuts on your body for the dead or tattoo yourself." Being that this law was in the Torah, tattoos were prohibited in Judaism. However, if one got a tattoo, they weren't excluded from society. They just weren't able to be buried in a Jewish cemetery. Now, on the other hand, since this law was passed down directly to the Israelites, Christians do not follow this law down to a T. The majority of Christians don't. tattoos also weren't accepted around the U.S. until the late 90s. Um, for example, back in 1967, New York City put a health ban on tattoo parlors. Government regulators believed that getting a tattoo, or the rise in getting a tattoo, correlated with the rise in hepatitis B. Um, Obviously, this wasn't the case. Many parlors tried to fight the ban, but due to the judges that saw these cases, the ban was held for 50 years, and it wasn't until 1997 when Mayor Rudy Giuliani noticed that there wasn't really any correlation between hepatitis B and getting a tattoo, so he dropped the ban. According to a Pew Research survey, over 40,000 people have tattoos between the ages of 18 to 29. You know, having a tattoo has become a social norm in our society. And since it's become such a popular thing worldwide during the 21st century, it is important to understand the history of this creative art form.